rides. With thanks for riding.
So I was thinking about Diagon Alley the other day. Actually, this is really like last week. And it just made me think how in a movie studio park, Universal Studios, Florida, they're putting in, they tore out Jaws and Amity and they put in this London area, right? So it got me to thinking about how they don't make behind the scenes rides anymore. You know, like, because you used to have rides like, or attractions, you know, ride is kind of a loose term when you're talking about these types of things, these types of rides.
What do you mean?
Well, attractions like Universal had Hitchcock, where they showed you how they made Psycho, or the shower scene in Psycho. They had Earthquake, now Disaster, where it's, you know, they show you how they made the movie. They still have Twister. They tell you a little bit how they make that movie. Backdraft. They don't really do these types of rides anymore.
In the pre-show.
And
yeah, most of those were in the pre-show.
Yeah.
But then again, the pre-show was longer than the actual attraction in pretty much all of those.
Yeah. So I think that type of attraction is dead, is basically what I'm saying.
The behind the scenes, the backstage pass, the exclusive.
Yeah, you know, like Art of Animation. You know, that used to be a whole thing at MGM Studios, now Disney's Hollywood Studios. And they really cut that back to where it's essentially just like a character meet and greet now. And but Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is still going strong. And they have a very neutered version of the Backlot Tour at Hollywood Studios. So a couple of them are still around, but I think I guess people would rather step into the universe of a movie as opposed to being told how that movie was made.
Yes. I completely agree with that statement.
So I think it's just an interesting trend.
Yeah. I guess when the idea of a movie theme park or a movie studio park came about, they thought the idea would be, well, it really came about, that idea was from the actual Universal Studios, the studio in California, where the idea was, for an admission, you get to go behind the scenes and see how we're actually making these movies.
Yeah.
And from that, they made the Universal Studios park in Florida, and then Disney fast-tracked a movie park to get it open before Universal Studios Florida opened. And yeah, and then they all took that approach from the original studios and the other studio tours that still exist to this day in California, we're going to show you how we make the movies. But yeah, it is interesting. I guess you don't have to look much further than YouTube.
Right.
Along with, even before that, when you started with the DVD special features.
Right, yeah.
So I guess it's just too easy. I think by 5 now, kids know how movies are made. Plus, everything's done on a computer. That's the other thing that happened. Everything went CG. So, but it's hard to show that in an attraction, especially when every attraction is the same thing. How did we do this movie? It was computers.
Right, yes. Yeah.
You know, it's like Transformers, it was computers. And then Avengers, it was computers. They're all the same thing, so you can't keep doing it. Yeah, when you had Backdraft with the amazing fire aspect, that could be a separate attraction as opposed to Twister with the separate wind vortex effect and the things they did with that. And they were able to show that. And then you had Earthquake, which was just shaking models to pieces, which was unique to those. So everything had its own unique spin and its own unique special effect, or just realm of special effects that you could display and kind of wow people with. And yeah, now everything is just a computer. So that's a little bit of everything. It's a more educated public because of the availability of information today, combined with the fact that the art of movie making has become pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah, at least special effects-wise.
Right, which is, I think, what most of the parks were based on.
Right, that's what they were really showcasing.
They weren't showing you, like, how to act. How do great actors get in character? You know, they never really had an attraction based on that I can recall, or the other elements to movies. You know, the production process. You know, so yeah, it is interesting though.
Yeah, it was all the horror makeup show, the stunt show. You know, it's the action stuff.
And it was fun. I mean, personally, I don't really miss it.
Yeah, that is kind
I don't
of
know
a
how
weird
you
thing.
feel.
Yeah, because I didn't realize until right now that, you know, an attraction like that hasn't been put in, I don't know, like 15 years or something, like a really long time.
Yeah, I think it's really done. It's really a thing of the past. Yeah, now the goal is to create the universe of a movie as if it were real so that you can experience it.
Yeah, the only attraction I would kind of separate out from this is the studio tour at Universal Hollywood, just because that is an actual working studio. So that's kind of its own thing.
Yeah, it still is for the most part. Yeah, it is interesting. You could argue it's kind of a more immature approach.
Oh,
it's
really?
kind of fun, I think, kind of funny to me, in that, yeah, because when you're going in with, okay, movies are movies, and basically movies are fantasy, and we're going to show you how we create the fantasy. And now we all go in pretending the movie is real.
Yeah.
So now it's just, we're all supposed to just play pretend.
But I guess, I mean, that's why you watch a movie in the first place. You want to be sucked into that world.
I do like what's going on now more than that late 80s into the 90s, what they were doing. So,
yeah.
I mean, I do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like what's going on today. I'd rather have that than the behind the scenes.
Yeah, because honestly,
type attraction.
Even when I first encountered some of that stuff, it got old quick. You know, it would get boring pretty quick.
Yeah,
even as a kid, especially today. You know, now just, you know, I mean, how many things like that can you really put up with?
Well, I guess, yeah, in that sense, all of those behind the scenes attractions, however many were made, I guess that's all there really needed to be. Because after that, you're going to start repeating yourself. They probably were repeating themselves anyway.
Yeah, it's like within a generation, they kind of got to everyone and showed us all how just about every kind of action sequence is done, and now we're done. Yeah, now it's passé.
It's like they showed you weather, they showed you fire, they showed you fight sequences, they showed you
horror makeup.
Right, they showed you makeup. They showed you green screen. They showed you scale model. You know, all great practical effects stuff. But there's only kind of so much there that you can really show off to the public, you know, without getting too technical.
Yeah, sounds
dangerous.
Like, yeah.
Oh, as you're thinking,
like Foley engineering, they actually did that. So yeah, you don't need to do that now. You don't have to wait 5 years and then the theme park land opens, and now I'm going to finally find out how that was done.
How did they fly on broomsticks anyway?
Yeah, you know, you don't have to now.
It was computers? No.
So now let's take it to the next step, and now you just fly on the broomstick.
Yeah, right.
Or the bench.
Well, that does sound more exciting. Well, the bench.
Because they couldn't figure the broomstick out.
Yeah.
So they went with the bench. It's just as good.
Night rides.
So excited for T3 at Kentucky Kingdom?
What? Terminator 5? We just saw.
No, next season they're going to open up T2 called T3, and they're going to reopen the Rapids.
Oh, they haven't done that yet?
No.
There was nothing there?
That's one of the worst Rapids ever. They really shouldn't reopen those.
That's the one that this ride forgot to have stuff happen.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to put it.
It was really just a lazy river. Just meandered, just float along. Nothing happens. Yeah, yeah, I mean, Six Flags really screwed that park.
Yeah.
Because they took Chang. It's the only decent thing they had, really.
Yeah.
And they left him Grease Lightning, and then they screwed that up.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm rooting for them. I'm happy that it reopened. We don't need any less parks in this country.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There's already too few. So I'm happy. I'm pulling for them. I hope it works out.
It's going to be a rough first, I don't know, like 3-4 seasons at least.
8-10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a little while before they put
But
some
I don't know.
worthwhile in there,
I heard,
probably.
unless it was just, hype that they were pushing that wasn't the actual facts. But I heard that they were saying that they sold a lot of season passes, and supposedly there was like more. There was so many applicants to even just work there that they had to shut the job site down.
Oh, wow.
Because they had enough to go through for the rest of the summer, I guess, to have their full staff. So apparently the people, the locals, they want it. The kids want to work there. The kids want to go there.
Hey, that's great.
Maybe the adults want to go there.
It's great to hear.
I hope it's all true, and yeah, I wish them the best. I really do. But at the same time, that lightning run.
Yeah, Lightning Run.
So they have Thunder Run and they have Lightning Run.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that one. It doesn't look that good.
I still say, just got to ride it. You never know. But it doesn't look
boy,
very
is that
good.
ever true?
Yeah.
Lately especially.
Yeah, that right.
But for me, the biggest problem with that is that the fact that Chance just replicated the old Arrow track. So when I see the video, when I see the POV of that ride, I have a preconceived notion of how it's going to ride based on what the track looks like. Like, oh, it's so it just looks like a whole ride of just those last little bits to get back to the station on the Arrow coasters. After the Mega Looper was pretty much done, and then they just did a sloppy helix or that sloppy couple of humps or something before you got back to the station.
Right.
It just shook you up. It was never really fun. Didn't do much. There's no thrill factor. It's like, oh, just end it now. Why'd you have to do this? Come on, Ron. What are you doing? And I'm an Arrow guy. I love Arrow, but so Thunder or Lightning Run just looks like a whole ride of that, based on the track. And I'm sure it doesn't ride like that. And I know you're also not in an Arrow train where you're kind of really deep in there, like the extreme bucket seats, where they really, your ass is like lower than the wheels are, I think, like in the spine of the track, and you're way down there with your knees up, and it's really awkward. And I know it's not like that, but at least just watching a POV, it's hard to get it because I'm so used to Arrow, and it looks like it's just Arrow track. So I feel like it's just a bunch of that, just that weird Arrow guesswork. Just dip them this way, dip them that way, a little hump here, a hump there. We'll give them a little thrill before we get back to the station.
But at the same time...
But, I mean, yeah, but track is just track. I mean, regardless of what it looks like, it could ride well.
But,
So.
it could ride like a Morgan. And it could be really cool. So who knows?
Really, there's no precedent, right? Or I think maybe is...
Really?
I want to say the steel coaster at Dutch Wonderland is a chance. And I did do that.
That is a chance.
Mm-hmm. I got it. What is it? Gauntlet?
Joust.
Joust!
This is like a miler, really, is what it looks like.
Oh, yeah. It is. It's like one of those miler rides.
Oh, they made a whole bunch of those little rides, by the way.
Okay.
But, yes, I think this is the biggest coaster they've done.
Chancy territory. Taking a chance. Taking a chance on Chance.
They ride with Thanks for Riding. Thunderbolt, the new ride that opened at Coney Island, 2014. Made by Zamperla, who also runs that joint now. And it's their take on like a Eurofighter kind of ride. Small, compact, vertical lift, 90-degree drop. I think foreign
90
versions.
degree or beyond 90 degree? Most of these
Whatever,
are
it's-
beyond. I'm sure it's a little beyond.
It's a little beyond. It's pretty straight.
Yeah, as an Emperor, Luna Park. Yeah.
So we did
just
it.
opened a couple of weeks ago, mid-June, and boy, does it blow.
Yeah, it's really it is shocking how horrible that ride is.
One of the worst, right?
It really is.
We were in agreement right after we
believe
got
it.
off that it really is one of the. It's got to be top 5 worst.
It's a top. Yeah, I was gonna say
roller
top
coasters.
10. Maybe it is top 5
I
worst
think it's-
coasters ever made.
I can't imagine there's more than 4 that are worse than it.
Yeah, all right. It's a top 5 worst coaster ever made. It's really that bad, folks. And why is it that bad?
Everything is wrong. So it actually is this Thunderbolt. When you're just walking up to it, you see it. It looks smooth. It runs nice and quiet.
It's quick.
The trains look impressive because they're actually a little larger.
They're a little more substantial. Yeah, they're 3 rows of 3 as opposed to the 2 rows of 4 that you usually see on those.
Right. Well, that's you're thinking of the
Gerstlauer,
the
yeah.
actual Eurofighter.
Right.
The seats are high up. You actually get a floorless aspect, easy for me to say, to it. By the fact that your feet aren't on the floor, you actually get up into the bucket seat and your feet are dangling. So as you're waiting and you're watching people get in and you're getting closer to it, you see this stuff and it looks good.
Yeah.
So, and then it just all went wrong as soon as we got in. It all went wrong.
Yeah, as soon as the lap bar went down.
Yeah, these sat like just above your knees.
Yes, they
Almost.
were really far down.
It was like
Your
from
lap.
just above your knee, but then they stopped like what, halfway up your your quad, like your quads here,
Sure. Yeah, I'll go with that.
the front of your thighs, like your quad. So yeah, it was all like the lower half of your lap, if you want to call it, or whatever. Just but it was way too low.
Yeah, and as soon as it went down, I remember I said something like, "Oh no, this is sitting too low."
Yeah, you did.
I could feel it right away.
And I was too distracted by the fact that my camera and my sunglasses in their case were being crushed
Oh yeah.
immediately as soon as we got in. The brute of a woman who was on my side, she shops at Staples, not Office Max, because she's was trying to staple me. She was like kept pushing, and she kept pushing until I heard a crack.
Oh.
Which I found out what that was later.
Yeah, I was worried about the stuff in my pockets too.
Yeah.
And luckily, nothing broke in my pocket. But
So yeah,
it's bad. It was a concern though.
It was just that, and it was uncomfortable because I had my sunglasses case and my camera were jamming into my leg the whole time. Once the thing was down.
So you have that, and then you also have these 2 straps, like a seatbelt strap, that go over your shoulders, that are just kind of loose.
Yeah,
They have a bunch of slack to them. So
Right,
it's
so
like
seatbelt strap over the shoulders.
So it's so it is like an over the shoulders, but yeah, it's a seatbelt strap. Very unusual.
So as soon as you get in, we're kind of worried here. It's like, oh, this is not comfortable. This is weird.
And then we go up the lift, and as soon as you go up the lift, because it's a vertical 90-degree lift, I'm kind of sliding out of the lap bar, and the straps are catching me. And it was a very unsettling feeling.
You're
Because
sliding.
I didn't feel like I was secure.
You slide all the way back in the seat like you normally do on a 90-degree vertical lift. But yes, because the lap bar was like at your knees pretty much. So yeah, it's way too low. You're like not in.
And yeah, boy, are you not in. So as soon as the ride started, first drop, those those over-the-shoulder straps, they were what was holding me in. That lap bar, the only thing that was doing was jamming the stuff that was in my pocket into my leg.
Yeah.
So it was a horrible design.
Yeah, because basically what you have is, as you go through the course of the ride, there are many moments where you snap against those straps. So they go
Yeah.
from their slack
The
state.
whole ride,
And
really.
then all of a sudden, like, "Whoa," you just you're ejected up into them. And they catch you and they, hurt on your shoulders when they get taut really quick.
Yes.
And like throughout the entire ride, you're doing that. I think even through the corkscrew, like that happened. Like through the corkscrew, the couple of camelback humps on the way back, a part on the turnaround, it just kept happening.
And every single transition was rough.
And then that's the thing too.
Literally every single one.
Yeah, that's another thing.
It was unbelievable.
I mean, that added to the restraint problem because the restraints were poorly designed, so you were banging into those restraints more often because the transitions were poor. But even if the restraints were normal or fine, still that would have been a problem in its own right. The fact that, every transition was just designed horribly.
And I don't know if maybe they just didn't go, through the ride, and because I know, when you put a coaster together, you have to go through and smooth out some spots where the track pieces come together because they're not going to align perfectly at every point. So you have to go through and do a little grinding to smooth it out. And I don't think they did that here at all. They just left it. As soon as they put it together, the construction crew left and they said, no, it's built. See you later. So every transition was just a bump. So you're doing a bump like every second, and it was just horrible.
Yeah,
that ride couldn't be over soon enough.
It's fun. Yeah, one of the rare times where I really wanted it to be over even before it was over. Like going into those last couple camelback humps, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then I knew it was gonna happen, and it happened. You get like ejector air, which is kind of cool, but in this case,
So at the end of the ride, you had your sunglasses were broken.
Yeah, I found out what that snap was. Snapped one of the arms right off. Arms are ripped off. Arm or leg or something.
And the next day, I saw that I had a bruise on my shoulder.
Oh, really?
From the strap, yeah.
Oh.
So that ride beat us both up.
Gee.
And it's a ride I never want to ride again.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I really don't like to see rides removed. Really almost any ride.
The thing was built. Just put the last screw in it 3 weeks ago.
But this is one ride where I wouldn't care if they removed it. I'd be okay with it.
I know what you're saying. I wouldn't give a shit.
I really hate that, but I would be okay with it.
That's a shame because really, Coney could use
that's
a great steel ride.
Because that park was really coming together. They really cleaned up the area and they put in a couple of cool things.
Yeah.
Zamperla was doing pretty good job managing the place, and they put this piece of shit in, and
it's a shame. It's a shame.